Dear friends, on 29th of July 2020, the MHRD came out with the new education policy. After years of effort put up by two commissions and also suggestions from various walks of life, finally the government decided to bring out the new policy for public domain. It will later on be taken up in the parliament, I hope, and this policy will be thread and bar analyzed, and they may make it an act for all of us to follow. So now the policy is significant in terms of its vision and also its future orientedness. It covered almost all the aspects, and the aim is to make Indian education vibrant and also at par with the developed nations. With that in mind, the Commission has suggested so many things, and the government also listened to other people, and finally they have brought out this final report in which there are various aspects to be analyzed. The vision of the policy itself is very, very significant. It talks about it is directly transforming India, which is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. This policy envisages the curriculum and pedagogy of our institution must develop among the students a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental duties and constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's roles and responsibilities in a changing world, etc. And it ends up saying we have to create children who are committed to human rights, committed to sustainable development goals, that's called SDGs, that's 17 points, and also we have to make our children in tune with the global well-being, thereby reflecting a true global citizens. This is the aim which is proposed by the policy. With that aim in mind, it also gives certain key principles for us to remember. And the key principles, if I take 8 points, I can remember, that is respect and diversity for local context, equity and inclusion, community participation, use of technology, emphasize conceptual understanding, unique capabilities, critical thinking and creativity, and continuous review. Based on these principles and the vision which I said, certain areas very seriously they thought of for educational sector, especially the school education sector. And I will limit only to the school education sector now in this session, in this talk. And it talks about universalization of education, which is a very, very important aspect in this document. Second, it talks about early childhood care and education. For that one, even the pattern of school system is changed. Like 10 plus 2 to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system will be introduced, and pedagogy and the curriculum will be formulated according to these new changes, and in taking into consideration of the all-round development of the child, NCERT has been entrusted with the responsibility to make the curriculum and pedagogy suitable to these changes. Attaining foundational literacy and numeracy is another goal. Reforms in school curricula and pedagogy, which is a very important thing, which we all know, it is so important for the future. And multiculturalism, multilingualism, and the power of language is another area. That is why the language has been touched upon, but then there are also controversies and there are a lot of doubts about this policy even today. Language is a very, very touchy issue, which is its identity to many people, and therefore we have to, and in a multi-linguistic state like India, it has to be a very, very balanced way of moving, otherwise it will be very touchy. Anyway, it talks about assessment and reforms, and a lot of reform measures have been suggested, and it also talks about teacher recruitment and deployment. It is something very, very significant, and that is what I am going to do next 10 minutes about teacher recruitment and development. Equitable and inclusive education, and also standard setting, accreditation, and for the accreditation system has been elaborately mentioned in the school education sector. Now coming to the point about the teachers. The school education sector is spanning from chapter 1 to 8 in the policy. Among these eight chapters, fifth chapter is fully dedicated for teacher. The title of the chapter itself is Teachers, and chapter 5:1 it talks about the noble profession of a teacher, and it talks about teachers truly shape the future of our children who are our future. It is because of the noblest profession teachers were respected, highly adored in our society, etc. And right now it assess that it is not that much respect is given, that the standard has gone down, the teachers were not given that importance of late, etc., etc. And therefore the highest respect which were given to the teachers have to be restored in India. With that aim, a lot of proposals have come. Number one is about recruitment and deployment section, that is 5.2. It talks about to ensure outstanding students enter in teaching profession, especially from rural areas. A lot of support, encouragement, provisions have been given. It talks about a special fund, a scholarship for talented children in the rural belt, etc. A scholarship will be established. B.Ed programs also, they will encourage these people to join in the B.Ed programs, and B.Ed programs already we know it has been proposed for 4 years of B.Ed degree, etc. The students must join with love for this profession, etc. Incentives will be provided for the teachers to work in the rural areas to empower our children. So very good suggestions have been given. A key incentive for teaching in rural areas will be a provision for local housing near on the school premises, or increased housing allowances, etc. will be given, so that the rural belt, and the current situation we know, the reality is very, very abysmal. So that is why government is rightly identifying the problems and asking us with new proposals to join in the teaching profession, to empower our people and make our rural belt also at par with the urban centers. In 5.3 it talks about the harmful practice of excessive teacher transfers, etc. The rural belt teacher comes and goes, and proper teaching is not taking place, etc. Therefore that has been identified, and policy says that this harmful frequent transfer will be avoided, halted in fact, because the continuity of teaching, a new teacher comes, government schools we know it comes and goes, that doesn't help our students. So that is why this proposal have been come. And it also talks about transfers will occur very special cases only, in case that is a genuine need for a transfer, that will be taken into consideration. And it talks also about teacher eligibility test, that is called a TET exam, will be strengthened. It is important for that the teachers will be up to date. They should know their subject in the contemporary relevance of it, and the changes and the researches that are happening in a particular subject, and make their teaching much more relevant and modern. So TET will be also extended to cover teachers across all stages, that is foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary education also it will be extended to. For teachers, suitable TET and NTA test score in the corresponding subject will also be taken into account for recruitment. To gauge passion and motivation for teaching, a classroom demonstration or interview will also be conducted. So the teachers are going to be empowered in terms they encouraged to study, to know about the modern subject development, etc. What their subject, what they are teaching, that has to be looked at. 5.5 talks about, it is very interesting to see that to ensure adequate number of teachers across subjects, particularly in subjects such as art, physical education, vocational education, and languages, teachers could be recruited to a school or school complex, and the sharing for teachers across the school could be considered in accordance with the grouping of schools adopted by state and union territories, etc. So that means the teachers, the expert teachers can be used, new teachers have been recruited in this particular area. Teacher shortage should not be there. Children should not suffer because of shortage of teachers. That is why we are aiming at. Definitely it will take some more years to fulfill this, but that is a very good proposal. 5.6 in the chapter, it talks about school complexes will be encouraged to hire local eminent persons or experts as master instructors. That means, suppose in the local there is a sculpturist or an artist or one who is an expert in agriculture or a particular subject can be invited to your school, so that the children will have a direct knowledge experience from such experts, etc. That is proposed. But the question will be how far these people, experts, will be knowing the teaching pedagogy, and there may be a guest lecturer like they can explain. Yes, fine. And 5.7 says technology based comprehensive teacher recruitment planning for forecasting exercise will be conducted by each state to assess expected subject wise teacher vacancies over the next 2 decades. The meaning is, technology will be used to find out where is the greater need, where a particular subject teacher is lacking, etc., etc., so that easily they can remedy the problem. That is why the technology will be used, even teacher recruitment and assessment, etc. Their service environment and culture, it talks about chapter 5.8 point. It says we need to have, the goal is to ensure greater learning for our students, and therefore it talks about the first recruitment of this direction will be ensure decent and pleasant service conditions. We know many of our schools, especially in the rural belt, the government schools, etc., very pitiable condition. There is no learning environment. I used to think when I was in the north, some places, I saw the government schools where no benches, no tables, and teachers simply come and they have nothing to sit even. If there is no proper environment, teachers will not have the dignity. Teachers will not have the proper learning environment or teaching environment, and therefore I think this policy proposes that the facilities, environment, school environment, in a very, very serious way, and I think that's the right decision. And it also talks about teachers will not be given other jobs other than teaching, except this midday meal looking after the school. No other involvement will be given for teachers to be away from the school. Apart from teaching, nothing else should be done. That is a very good suggestion, because we know this, when the election comes, when there is a survey done, when there is a vaccination, we used to give the teachers for all this work, and then teachers were quite a long time away from the schools teaching. They do everything other than teaching. That aspect has been identified, because in our suggestions also, many of our suggestions, many groups have suggested to the government such things should be stopped immediately. So that is another area. And it also talks about teachers will be given more autonomy in choosing their the aspects of pedagogy. Means in the classroom they can choose the best way of teaching. So each one's trait is different. Each one's quality of teaching is different, approach towards teaching will be different. So if the person is comfortable to teach and make the students understand the concept well in a particular manner, for example through role plays or through drama performance or through chart making or giving some kind of a field experience, etc., that pedagogy must be accepted by the school, and then that is what the suggestion comes. This also talks about professional development of the teachers very seriously. That is the title of this is called continuous professional development, CPD. That is chapter 5 verses 15 talks about that, especially the chapter 5 the paragraph 15 talks about teachers will be given continuous opportunities for self-improvement and learn the latest motivations and advances in their professions. Opportunities will be given to the teachers, continuous opportunities. Example, school principals and school complex leaders will have also similar modular leadership management workshops organized, so that the top is capable and understanding about these changes that are required, then that will percolate to the teachers. Therefore, at various levels, not only for the teachers, it's also the leadership also will be given this important training. Career management and professionalism is very important. That is CMP, which is also equally important for people. That is chapter 5 verses 17 onwards. It goes this way. Teachers doing outstanding work must be recognized and promoted and given salary rises to incentives all teachers to do their work. So if a teacher is performing well, if a teacher is very creative, innovative and enthusiastic in teaching, if he is a passionate teacher, he should be encouraged. Therefore, the salary increase will be done by looking at the performance and contribution of the teacher, which is going to encourage the teachers to do better. A system of multiple parameters for proper assessment and performance will be developed for the same by state and union territories, etc., etc. It talks about beautiful things, but remember, every policy is as good as its implementation or implementators. So if the bureaucracy as it is going to continue with these kinds of reforms, it may take time. We will not expect much changes, and I think the new system which is proposed by the Commission will have to look into this, and it must be genuine way of functioning. It also says it will be ensured that career growth in terms of tenure, promotion, salary increases is available to teachers within the single school stage, that is foundational, preparatory, middle or secondary, etc. They can suppose a teacher is the foundational teacher is very good at, then she can move to the next stage if is capable, that proved her qualities, etc. So such a career across the stage the teachers interest, passion, enthusiasm, quality will be improved. It's very interesting to note that is chapter 5 verses 19. It talks about vertical mobility of teachers based on merit will be paramount. Outstanding teachers with the demonstrated leadership and management skills should be trained over time to take academic leadership positions in schools, school complexes, BRCs, CRCs, BIETs, DIET, as well as relevant government departments. That means a teacher has always the possibilities to become a leader in a school or within the department based on his enthusiasm and performance. And it will be a very good thing. Otherwise, most of the teachers are stagnant in the primary level. They have no way to grow, etc. But if you prove here, the possibility is there that you can grow and go to the next level. Professional standard of teachers, it talks about beautifully, chapter 5 verses 20. I think it is so important for us to understand this part. All my dear teachers, this is a very significant move for you. A common guiding set of national professional standards for teachers, that is NPST, will be developed by 2022 by the National Council for Teachers Education. It is restructured a new form as a professional standard setting body, PSSB, under the General Education Council, that is GEC, in consultation with NCERT, SCERTs, teachers from across levels and regions, expert organizations in teacher preparation and development, expert bodies on vocational education and higher education institutions, etc. So what it talks about is a professional training. It is not only training in the B.Ed colleges, that 4 years, it's also in-service training. Teachers must not be stagnant. They should get opportunities to grow. That is a very good proposal. In the most of the developed nations in Europe, etc., they have these teachers continuous assessment as well as continuous development programs. In-service training is so important for a professional, because there are rapid things are happening, changes are happening in the field of education, and the teachers must know these changes that are taking place. And also, without quality, somebody sits on the chair, and after the entire educational sector of the school or a college is not so desirable. So what the government proposing or the policy proposing is that there should be a continual growth in the teacher, empowerment of the teacher. As a professional, you should improve. It is like UPSC tests and so we conduct. Indian Administrative Service, for example, IAS. Similarly, we will have ITS now onwards, that is Indian Teaching Service. It is a very good proposal, I feel, because this will encourage our teachers to be up to date, creative, innovative, and more suitable to deal with the changing situations, because our students are also changing. Perceptions are changing, technology is changing, there are availability of knowledge is in their hands. So the teachers must be much more advanced, empowered, quality based teachers, and therefore this proposal is given by the government. And it also talks about special shorter local teacher education programs will also be available, like BITEs, DIETS, etc. Or school complexes themselves for eminent local persons who can be hired to teach at schools or school complexes and master instructors, etc. It talks about, even locally you can arrange somebody who can come and train, and I think it will be a very good thing. Private schools and government schools, all if they come together, because when I was in Orissa, in Baripada, when I was a principal there, the local DEO, district education officer, was so good, and he came to know me, and he was so friendly. So he used to arrange the entire district level teachers, courses, etc. in touch with us, and we used to have combined classes, etc. They used to come to my school, and I used to go to their some places, and so on. Various ways of dealing and teaching was done, and I appreciate that DEO. Similarly, I am sure that government officials will take note of the new ways of teaching which are available in both sectors, government and private, and a collaboration of that one will, because our ultimate aim is to empower our students. That is what the government proposing. I am sure that that will be a welcome move. And finally, it also talks about 527. It talks about NCERT will study, research, document, and compile the varied international pedagogical approaches for teaching different subjects and make recommendations on what can be learned and assimilated from these approaches into the pedagogies being practiced in India. So it is good that we learn from others, and the best practices of other countries, other pedagogies which are available in the global arena will be brought into India, and we add up what is best for us. I am sure that the government will take care of that within the country also. It's not only looking at internationally, within the country also there are organizations, there are various agencies working with the new pedagogies, better ways and teaching, etc. And I'm sure that that also have to be looked into. And finally, It talks about a new and comprehensive national curriculum framework for teachers' education. NCFTE 2021 will be formulated by the NCTE in consultation with the NCERT based on the principles of this National Education Policy 2020. The framework will be developed after discussions with all stakeholders, including state governments, relevant ministries, department and central government, and various expert bodies, and will be made available in the regional languages also. The NCFTE 2021 will also factor in the requirements of teacher education curricula for vocational education also. The NCFTE will thereafter be revised every 5 to 10 years by reflecting the changes in revised NCFs as well as emerging needs of teacher education. Finally, in order to fully restore the integrity of the teacher education system, stringent action will be taken against the substandard, standalone teacher education institutions running in the country, including shutting them down if required. A lot of serious efforts have been proposed. As I said, every policy will be, the success of every policy or the implementation of every policy is depending upon the agents that are doing it. So we hope the government is serious, and the bureaucracy or whoever is going to implement this through the various structures will be serious and genuine and transparent and forward looking. If so, it's a great move to empower our teachers, make them at par with any other country in the world. We must appreciate and encourage people who are willing to be teachers, and we need the best ones in the society to be teachers to make our children's future and also thereby the nation's future more secure and more bright. Thank you very much, and God bless you.